Okay, this is part one of how to run a standard ASHEE eruption simulation, eruption plume simulation. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you have ASHEE installed. If you don't have that, then we can discuss that another time, or perhaps on another video. But I'm running ASHEE on my Windows machine through a software called VirtualBox. Okay, and so what this is it's a software that lets me run Ubuntu, so Linux, as a virtual machine on my Windows desktop. So I have this running now, and I can show you here that I'm using an Ubuntu desktop here. So ASHEE only works, as far as I'm aware, with Linux. Okay, and I have some document how to run a standard ASHEE model, and this is going to be updated over time, so maybe adding things to it and taking things away from it over time. And I'll also have other versions of this documentation, for example, to add in more solid phases, so different, let's say different particle sizes, or also if we wanted to add other condensable gases or non-condensable gases into our model. But for now, we'll just go through the case, draw a standard ASHEE model in which by default you have air and water vapor as your two continuous phases, and you have two particle phases, or let's say particle sizes, which we're modeling here, also as continuum phases. Okay. So there's no Lagrangian particles in this. We're treating the particles as continuum phases in the standard ASHEE model. And we'll get to adding Lagrangian particles in a future video series. Okay, so if you're running ASHEE on your standard Ubuntu desktop, we can actually navigate to folders using a nice graphical interface. So I can go in and out of folders like so. But eventually, if we want to run some realistic sized simulations, we're going to have to actually run this on some kind of cluster, some kind of supercomputer. So in fact, everything's written in this tutorial so that we can do everything from the terminal. Okay, and if you don't know what the terminal is, it's a command line interface of operating Ubuntu. So basically, you could do everything that you would like from this terminal. I can change folders that I'm in. I can run commands. I can copy whole folders. Anything I want, anything I can do graphically, I can do in this terminal. And so, just to get us used to using the terminal for when we do want to run on a supercomputer, we're going to go through this tutorial using just the terminal. Okay, so to run a standard ASHEE model, so for a standard case, we're going to follow these steps one by one. Okay, so the first is preparing the files and the system. So in our terminal, we're going to navigate to in this directory called run. Okay, and CD just stands for change directory. So we're going to change directory into our open phone. I missed the slash here. And so if you type open or start typing open phone, and if I press the tab button, it will complete the sentence for me. So this is just to speed up. Username, so if I double tap tab, it'll tell me the options I have. Okay, so I have two options here. I have ASHEE or OS Boxes 5.0. So ASHEE is the source files. So we don't want to touch this at all. We don't want to touch this folder at all. We only want to go to this. This is our username basically, OS Boxes. So I'm going to write OS and then type press tab to skip to OS boxes. So that's my username. So now I need to type run. Okay, and so now you can see that I am in this directory here. And if I ever want to check where I am, I can press PWD, which says print working directory, or in other words, print where we are at the moment on the screen. So I can see I'm in OS boxes, open foam, OS boxes 5, which is my username, and run. So I'm in the right place now. Okay, and what I want to do now is I want to, in step 2 here, is make a new directory with a name. So basically make a new folder with a useful name. I can call this anything I want. Here I've used Plume Test 1. Maybe I'll stick with that. There is one condition though, is that we should have no spaces in our name. I made this mistake a couple of times where I've made folders with spaces in the name, and it really doesn't like this. So please just use something without spaces, but you can call it whatever you want. Okay, and what this does is it makes a directory called Plume Test 1. If I really wanted to check, I could go to the graphical user interface and see, okay, OS boxes run. And you see now I've got this folder which is called Plume Test 1 and is currently empty. Okay, so this command, make directory Plume Test 1, has worked. And so now we want to, we've made this folder now, Plume Test 1, but we're still in the run directory. Okay, so I need to change into the Plume Test. So I'm just going to type Plume and then press tab, Plume Test 1. So now again, if I print my working directory, I can see, okay, well, I'm in the username run Plume Test 1. So I'm in the right place now. Okay. So ASHEE has been written in such a way that there is a standard template which we can make use of. So it saves us a lot of time filling in a lot of different pieces of code. So what I need to do is copy the necessary files to this directory. Okay, so this command here is what I'm going to need to type in. So I'm going to copy, so CP for copy, -R, which I think basically just means you can copy everything, including folders. This tilde thing, /open foam, ASHEE tutorials, where are we going? ASHEE set scenarios. And again, I need to have this space and this dot at the end. Okay, the dot is important. And if I click that, that will copy everything that's in this OpenFOAM ASHEE tutorials, ASHEE, everything that's in the set scenarios folder or directory. We'll copy that into my current directory, which is this Plume Test 1. Okay. So now if I want to, I can go back and just check that that's worked. So here I went into OpenFOAM, my username, which was OS boxes, run Plume Test 1. Here's the folder we created. You can see now there's a set scenarios thing in there. Okay, so it seems to be working so far. So let's go back to our tutorial. Okay, so now that we've copied all the files we're going to need, we need to start modifying these files to for our specific case. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change directory into that new file we created, set scenarios, print working directory, just to make sure we're in the right place. Okay, now we can start thinking about changing everything. Okay, so in the next video, I'm going to start modifying our simulation for our specific case.